listening to Out Cincinnati at 91.7 WVXU HD2 anytime at OutCincinnati.com. Billy Gilman is on the phone. How's it going, Billy?
Hey there, Chris. How you doing?
Pretty good. I wanted to remind folks, like I caught you on The Voice, and all those judges turned around, and they were just, Billy, I remember you from the school bus when you were 11.
Yeah, I try to forget about that, but what are you going to do? With
one voice, I remember when I heard that song on the radio. So where did Billy go, and what's he up to now?
Oh, well, that's a loaded question. Really haven't gone anywhere. What really took the most time was, actually a couple of things. Was, the women that start out young, they don't they don't transform or they don't change as drastically as us men do vocally. So when my voice was changing, first of all, it was late too. It was later in my teenage years that it would change. And it took a very long time to relearn it, because when I tell you it would be gone and I couldn't even get one song out and I would be completely hoarse. Almost possibly damaging it. Had to go on total voice rest for 6 months. It was crazy time. And then it took 2 years to relearn it, retrain it. It took me all those years as a kid to get it to where it was, and then all of a sudden, bam, it changed. And then the whole process of, in my 20s, my whole process of reestablishing myself as a different artist because of certain circumstances I'm sure we'll get into in more of this interview. But so then right around the time of me really saying, well, if things aren't going to work out in country music, I got to let this voice do what it naturally needs to do. I don't know how I'm going to get there to whatever avenue, adult contemporary, whatever, vocalist thing it can be. As I was trying to figure out that path, the voice called, and they called for a long time before I said yes, because I didn't really want to go on a reality show. It's not my thing. I didn't start that way. I didn't want to really do it at all. But they asked for 4 years.
Wow.
And I finally said, you know what? Never has an opportunity kept reoccurring in my life. If I've said no and then I go, damn it, I should have done that, that's a regret. But never before has an opportunity just kept knocking and knocking. And finally I said, you know what? I've got to let it go and dive in. And I'm certainly glad I was totally dead wrong about the whole process. That's all I can say.
Well, you wonder how those, when I watched The Voice, and if I saw that, I'd say, oh well, they set that up, or they called him, or this or that. It's not that, but you just wonder how that comes about, because someone had the idea, let's call Billy, and they were after you for 4 years. That's awesome. I mean,
yeah, they do scout. I was alleviated from doing like you go show up at the cattle call kind of thing. I went directly right in front of the producers, but I still had to audition. They still had to see if I could still sing, whatever. But
and you weren't guaranteed that someone was going to flip the chair around either, right? I mean, they had you on, but it's still their final call, right?
And that was my most reluctant part. I said, you know what? The biggest moment they want to get is the blind audition part. That's when they want the most viewers to kick off their season. I said they're going to use my name, and they're going to get all these viewers, and then they're not going to turn around, and I'm going to look like an idiot. That's exactly what was in my head. And that was what kept me saying no. They're just going to make a joke or whatever. And I said, I'm not going to do it. And finally I said, you know what? If they want me that bad, then I gotta see what we can do here. And like I said, before I really jumped in and said yes, I had meetings with past managers, VPs of record labels that worked with me or that I'm friendly with. I mean, right down to my parents. I mean, I had meetings with everybody. I am that type A kind of neurotic person.
Hey, I mean, that's that could be from from the Northeast, the northern kind of runner, kind of frantic. I don't know. I mean, relaxer in the South.
Right. And because I just needed to make sure that what I was doing wouldn't hurt me. And everybody kept saying, well, what do you got to lose? I mean, but look what you could gain. So I'm like, yeah, that's very true. So I jumped in and I told everyone, listen, I can't be what was, too. When I get on this show, there were so many years of me singing what I needed to sing in the image that you all saw back when. But I'd get on the bus and go in the hotel room, and I would belt out Celine Dion, and I'm thinking to myself, this voice really isn't – I'm not showing the world what its full potential is. I'm having to abide by this image. And that's what really was tough for me in country. I mean, I had a sit-down meeting at a record label, and the guy, one of the VPs, who will be nameless, said to me, we just don't want our men singing like Carrie Underwood.
Oh.
And I thought to myself, wow. What a punch in the face, because that is the coolest thing, because there really aren't any people that hold notes and do that in the male form. There are a few, so there is room.
What year was that he said that to you?
This was 2000 and not too long ago, 2012.
Oh, well, okay. I mean, any time's awful, but just to wonder how far when it was and how far we might have grown since then.
Yeah, it's not really that long ago. So and then I said, you know what? If that's going to be the uphill battle, then I really got to start thinking of another way to be successful in the music business, another genre. I got to let this voice. It was doing it disservice. What I was given by God, I needed to let it ring. And I really, honestly, in all aspects, had that opportunity on The Voice. I mean, I was doing Adele, I was doing Celine. I was just letting my voice finally just let it go. You know what I mean?
Remind me what Celine song did you do a Celine song on The Voice? Because I don't. It's escaping me.
I did, but I didn't do a well-known one on purpose. Obviously, I did "I Surrender." I mean, a Celine fan will know it, but
of course,
the normal population might not know it because it was more or less just a cut on a record. But yeah, it was "I Surrender."
Have you met her?
I did, yeah, and she knew because I had met her after the Voice. I met her about a year ago, and she knew, and I was like very honored. And I'm like, you better do that song tonight. She's like, it's my opener. I'm like, okay, good.
Wow, I mean, any words from Celine. First, I'm a fan. If you can't tell, So I should have remembered that song, but yeah, I Surrender. Totally know it. Just to have that kind of validation, hey, you better do that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So are you looking at kind of a crossover thing? Are you going to try to stick on country, or where do you see that going? I mean, the genre kind of evolves too.
Absolutely. Right now we just released obviously a new single, Soldier, and it's more AC, but everything is really blurred lines at this moment. I mean, Dan and Shay and Justin Bieber and Lil Nas and Billy Ray Cyrus. So, which is great. I mean, I am putting my music out there and grabbing onto each opportunity and just kind of, I mean, I'm at the helm of the ship, working hard every day, but I'm really letting it do its own thing. I want to see who gravitates towards it, who bites on harder than who doesn't. And, right now, it's been very well received in like the AC, as far as like being on this specific Spotify playlist or being on this iHeartRadio playlist, and it's all been very AC, middle of the road, which is normally where my voice falls anyway.
And is that the future of music with Spotify? You have like 1.2 million streams on there.
Oh yeah,
that was the statistic I saw. And is that kind of where things are heading?
It is, because, I mean, I just recently got a music newsletter that you get, and it was saying how certain markets are, like Targets and Best Buy, certain ones are going to start to get rid of their CD aisle, so that's just, of course radio is still radio, but it's the playlists and the streaming is really where our industry is a driving force to be.
I mean,
which is great.
Do you get in the car though and still flip on the FM radio? I mean, you have to.
I do. Oh yes.
Yeah, I do too. I love it.
Our local is 92 Pro FM. Oh yeah, our local radio station is 92 Pro FM, and I'm very friendly with the DJs there. So absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a mixed bag. As far as there are still some people in the industry that believe totally for radio, and there are people that believe totally just streaming. So it just depends. I try as best as I can to hit both, because I think, why not?
My personal opinion is it's at some level radio kind of got lazy, and then all these platforms came around, and radio decided they needed to be relevant again. But that's just my opinion. I mean, that's not everybody,
right.
you know.
You're in that end of it more than I am, so you're probably dead on.
It's just, yeah, and I wanted to talk about you were in good company as far as coming out. You and Ty on the same day. You got Shelley Wright and Steve Grand. How important is that visibility for LGBT artists, like in country and outside of country?
So when I came out to my family, of course, that's what mattered to me. But as the business side, because it just doesn't apply to my career, my job, I didn't think. I was like, well, what does that matter? I mean, I don't ask them what they do. I don't care. But then when I did come out, so many people on my team that were still in Nashville said to me, you know, we've been with you since you were 12, and we suspected it, but we would never come out and say something just in case you weren't gay. And I thought, and they said, now that you are, and you're being, you're headstrong, and you're being a voice for people. They said, you don't know the stigma around your name in a negative way about, well, is he, isn't he? So the industry was very, at that time, backwards and very, very against who I was supposed to love, who I am supposed to love. And I didn't understand that, because that doesn't make the music any different. If anything, it makes it better, because now I'm not nervous or worried or scared or stressed. Now I can just totally focus.
Well, and you have artists who re-record songs with different pronouns, you know, after they come out and they re-release things. So it's cool. That's such a cool thing. So so it's good to be all the way yourself, you know.
Absolutely, and I started to get that as my adult mind really started. You know, I was like, who cares? You know what I mean? Being a private person, that was my first thought. But then I was at some festival with my partner, and some person wanted to take a picture of me, and it just so happened to be a reporter. And I went, oh, you know what? If I'm going to start to live my true self, I got to really address it to my fans and be at the helm of this ship, because God knows what someone could write in an article. And a big magazine wanted the exclusive. And I said, you know what, that's not my agenda about it. It looks like I'm trying to push my career and do this and that just to make a headline. And that's not the case. So coming to grips with it, I said, you know what, I'm going to do it on YouTube. If it goes viral, it goes viral because people are paying attention. It's not some paid-for article. I just felt that was too not realistic in my bones about how I wanted to explain this situation. So I did it on YouTube, and it certainly went viral, and all that happened. And but the best thing about me coming out was, you know, I'll always, in one way or another, find success in this industry. Whether country still doesn't want to have an openly gay artist on the radio, or they don't want to sign me, or whatever the issue with it is, I will always find a niche somewhere, because that's what I was put on earth to do. That's what God gave me. It will always work. What really was the best part was the response I got from people saying, I no longer feel ashamed or alone. That was my win. Knowing that I could help someone in Middle America that doesn't have an accepting family, they're put out on the street, that was my win, you know, and personally about the whole situation. And I was happy I did it, to be a voice for the voiceless, you know, to be a soldier for these people, you know, and that's how this world changes. If you go to the front lines and act rather than just say, you know.
And that's the new song Soldier. So is that the kind of, I mean, I've listened a couple times. What can you talk about, you know, how that song came about? Is that kind of your inspiration there?
So when Soldier came about, you know, that is where, you know, the chorus "Keep Fighting." You know, I really resonated with that on behalf of all of the LGBTQ discrimination, the bullying in the school systems, even to go as far as the horrific epidemic of the overdose situation in this world. Whether you can't deal with who you are as a person, or you have demons at work, or whatever the situation may be, with all of the addiction problems too. So this song really has a lot under its umbrella, if you will, and I'm very proud of that, because if someone can't understand my fight was, and still to this day, the fight of keeping going and being a voice for everyone. I'm going to keep fighting. We're soldiers, stand our ground. You know, they can understand it in whatever way they're having a difficulty in their lives. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I was very proud to receive that song, especially in the time frame that we're living in. I mean, it's just, we need these positive messages because it's getting really scary out there.
And you can totally hear that song on an adult contemporary station like you could hear it on a country station. I think I would spin it on both.
That's awesome, and you know that's wonderful. And if further on down the line, as Soldier keeps going,
yeah.
I would never. The one thing I've never done is shut my life off to country, because that's where I met my millions of fans and reconnected with some of them on The Voice. Made new ones because, of the singing the Celine. People really never knew I could do that. So, I mean, I will always embrace country because it was almost like, because I always wanted to make it in country, but when they were really being difficult about who I was as a person, I had no choice but to move on. It was almost like leaving a loveless marriage, but you're still in love with that person. It wasn't your fault, but you had to cut the wire. It was very strange. I grew up with some of these people. They were like my parents. And all of a sudden, everyone was just gone. So it was a weird mentally depression time for me that was really, really difficult to handle at some parts. But
and it's so stupid because there's so many LGBT people in the business that all the hairdressers, all the people that carry the bag, it is stupid stuff like that. And it's like, how could there be so much hate when they're all around? We're all around anyways, if you will.
Absolutely. I don't know. I honestly don't know if it scares them that we would say he instead of she. But I'm going to tell you something. I've always known to have many gay fans. There's a huge it's not like it's just a one-track mind. Let me tell you, there's a lot of us that love country music, probably more so than anyone realizes. So I don't know what the defining factor is. I don't think we'll ever know because there's too many people. There's too many VPs. There's too many A&R people. If it was one person, you could go to them and say, well, what's the reason? But there's so many record labels and so many, you'll never get a
people just align
cohesive answer.
People align the lyrics with who listens to it. I think it might be as simple as that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, hopefully one day.
Yes. So you and Chris, wedding date set, or what's the?
Well, we've gone back and forth with that, but I don't know. We're just really enjoying us. It's like Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. Don't knock it if I don't know, but we often think about it, and we don't think about it. I honestly don't know. I'm obviously, but
I tried to find an updated article on that. I'm like, well, I'll just ask him. So. Oh
yeah, absolutely. No, not as of yet, but I'm sure in the near future that will happen. But we're having a great time, and I'm very fortunate to have someone that gets this crazy career and understands it from the first. I've never been with anyone else, and I needed because I nervous because there are people that know me but don't know me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because they see me on TV or YouTube or whatever platform, and my whole life, I've kind of like been a personality before I became a person. So I shy away a lot. So I would never opened up, never did that, never did this. And when I finally met Chris and something clicked in my head, we had a lot of deep conversations about I'm not in this to have a good time. I'm putting myself out there to start a relationship, and if that's too straight on forward for you, then I'm sorry. And it just worked, and it clicked, and I'm very grateful for that.
And you got in there before the geriatric gay years hit, and that's a think above 35. So.
Oh God, no! Please, I got a long way to go. And someone said to me the other day, I look 24. So I'm like, I love you.
There you go. Well, no, I'm 37, and I looked. You're what, 31?
Yeah.
So I was thinking. So I was thinking when One Voice came out, we weren't that far apart as far as But
As age, right?
Right.
It's
Anyways,
crazy.
it's like So it's still that's so cool. Billy, thanks for joining us on Out Cincinnati. You can find Billy on Instagram, Billy Gilman Official, and Billy Gilman on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you, Billy.
Oh, my pleasure. Hey, everybody, this is Billy Gilman, and this is my new song, Soldier, on Out Cincinnati.
Love is in battle.